Sometimes when you watch a movie or TV show or read a great book, you want to share it with a friend. You want to tell them what happens in the book, in the TV show. How can you do this naturally, conversationally, in English? Well, that's what I'm going to teach you in this video. I'm going to teach you the phrases, the words, the sentences that you need to give a natural summary of a movie, a book, or a TV show in English. If you have any questions as we go, leave those in the comments. If you haven't done so already, feel free to hit the like button and subscribe to see future videos. And now let's get into it. Whether you are talking about a movie you watched or a book you read, being able to summarize, give a basic idea of the story can be very useful. So I want to give you some useful phrases for doing that. But I want to mention something unique about how it's done in English. So let's say you read a great book, okay? When you want to share what the book is about, this could be the synopsis, right? The summary of the story, or just the story of the book, right? You want to tell that to a friend. You will probably do it in the present tense. Think about why. Well, you could go read that book right now, and then you would be going through it in the present, right? Or you could go watch that TV show. Walter White is a chemistry teacher who decides to. Present tense. You could go do that right now. So often when we're giving summaries, particularly of movies, TV shows, books, stories, we use the present tense. It gets a little trickier when we're talking about our own experiences within that retelling. If you're zooming back to yourself in the movie theater, thinking about what's happening in the movie, then you might switch to the past tense. And I couldn't believe that he is. Could be how you say that. Right? Maybe. Or I couldn't believe that he decides. It could be. So it can get a little tricky there. But let's put that aside. I want to focus on the most useful phrases that we might use to give these summaries. So let's start with setting. Setting is where and when a story takes place. Simply, we could say it takes place in. The whole book is set in. Most of it happens at. So maybe it takes place in the 1930s or during the Great Depression. The whole book is set in space, on the moon, right? The setting is the time and place of the story, right? If we go back to Breaking Bad, right? Set in, I believe, Phoenix, Arizona, right? I think it's Phoenix. Or New Mexico. Is it Albuquerque, New Mexico? It might be, it's the Southwest. It's been a while since I've seen it. I forget. It's the Southwest. So Albuquerque, I think it might be Albuquerque. Most of the series happens at a bar. So maybe there's a few TV series that take place mostly inside of a pub, right? Or at a bar or at a particular restaurant. That's actually a common feature of some sitcoms, for example. So that could be the setting. We could talk about the characters. The main character is. Then you could say something about the main character, maybe. Selfish cheerleader, a greedy dentist, something like that. The main character is maybe a a rugged swordsman. Or you might say something about the character there. A rugged swordsman with a dark past, seeking vengeance for the death of his pet turtle, right? Okay, so that's a description of the main character. Now I know. Now, to say that more conversationally, you're telling someone about this story. So, okay, there's this girl, and she can make things explode with her brain. So she can look at something and it explodes. And that is relevant later, so remember that. Okay, so I'm telling you what happens. I'm introducing characters so that then what I say later in the summary makes sense, right? Her best friend lives right next door. And at night, they often sneak out and wreak havoc on the neighborhood on roller skates with flamethrowers, right? So we're just introducing characters. Her best friend, her neighbor, her cat, her dog, his uncle, his closest ally, his bitterest enemy, right? That sort of thing. We're bringing up characters. Now, what about some specific story points? Let's talk about some phrases that we might use to talk about those story points. So we have some characters. We've introduced them. We're talking about what's happening. And then I want to bring up some dramatic point of drama, an exciting thing that happens in the show, in the movie. What they don't realize is a tsunami is about to sweep through the city. So I'm telling you that. The characters don't know that yet in the retelling, right? But I'm trying to tell you what's going on so that there's some context, right? Or maybe to build up some anticipation, right? She has no idea that her best friend is actually a Russian agent who's been spying on her family for the last 10 years. Oh, okay. I'm interested. She has no idea. So I'm telling you a plot point, right? This is when things get crazy. So this is where there's a turning point, right? We've gone up to this point. I'm telling you what's going on. And then, there's a turn. Something happens after the tsunami. Once they realize she's a spy, then things get crazy. And again, I'm giving you more phrases that are useful for a conversational summary of a movie, TV show, or story, or book, or whatever, right? This is not a formal summary of something. This is how you would do it more conversationally. One of the coolest parts is, now this is where you're talking about your feelings about the story as it happens. One of the coolest parts is when, okay, so they find out she's a spy, right? And then they confront her at her house. And when they open the door, right, it's filled with agents. And they're all armed. And so then it turns into a car chase. Okay, so that's maybe one part that I think is very exciting or interesting. And one very cool sort of sentence that is often used to describe this sort of mayhem or craziness is, all hell breaks loose. All hell breaks loose when they get trapped, or they're being chased, or they discover, right? This is when things get crazy. This is when things get wild, insane. All hell breaks loose. My favorite part, this is a simple one. My favorite part is when. Now be careful there because you might want to avoid giving away part of the story. Sometimes you don't want to reveal something if you want to entice your friend to watch the show, to read the book. So my favorite part is when, I almost said it, but I don't want to give anything away. Giving something away would be revealing something I shouldn't reveal, because that would then remove some of the suspense for you, because you should watch it, you should read it. Or we use spoilers. I don't want to spoil anything. There's a pretty insane twist. I don't want to spoil anything, though. But now, that could be a spoiler. Just saying that there's an insane twist, right? It could be a spoiler. So even saying that might be too much. Hey, don't tell me there's a twist, right? A twist is when things are going this way. You expected it to be that way. And then found out it's not actually a village in the 1850s. It's actually the modern day. And this is a special community that's been set up by a university professor who wants to live like it's the 1860s. And they set up a no-fly zone. Oh, big twist. That would be the story. That would be the plot of The Village, that M. Night Shyamalan movie. Or, oh, he's been dead the whole time. The whole movie. Okay, he's a ghost. Great. So that's the twist. And an insane twist would be very shocking, very surprising. I don't want to spoil anything. I don't want to spoil anything. Would be when you want to avoid giving away something. I don't want to spoil that we're going to do a summary, but I just did by accident because I showed it. Is it like spoiling, like vegetables spoiling? Yeah, kind of. Because if you say something, then they know. And that takes away the suspense. A quick anecdote here. A long time ago, when the 6th Harry Potter book came out, I believe it was 6. Yeah, I think so. I was in line to get it. There's a huge long line to get the latest Harry Potter. Somebody had got their book and then immediately skipped to the end. They saw, the thing that nobody knew at the time, Dumbledore dies. I don't think I'm spoiling anything there, right? Hopefully. It's been many years, right? So hopefully I'm not spoiling anything. 20 years. There's a 20-year expiration on things being spoiled, I think. So someone then that person drove by the entire line in front, this line of hundreds of people waiting to get their books, and they screamed out the car window, "Dumbledore dies!" And everyone was furious. It was very memorable, and I've never seen such rage from so many people at one time. Maybe we would say, again, as part of the feelings that we would have throughout the story, I didn't expect this or I didn't expect that. I didn't expect someone to drive by the line and give away the ending or spoil the ending. I didn't expect the whales to become such a major part of the story. Like in the latest Avatar movie. The whales, I thought they were just whales. And then suddenly they're a big part of the plot. Cool. I didn't expect that, right? So let's put all this together. We're going to put it together in an example summary. Let's just read through it, okay? Here we go. I'm going to look at the summary so that we can read through it. This is using the phrases we've talked about. I want to give you a sense for how to use these naturally. Have you heard about the book Shadows of Tomorrow? It takes place in a post-apocalyptic world where most cities are abandoned and nature has taken over. The whole book is set in the remnants of what was once New York City. The main character is a young woman named Lila who's trying to find her lost family. So there's this girl, Lila, right? She's brave, curious, and has a mysterious past. Ooh. She meets, now notice the present tense, she meets a group of survivors who seem friendly and kind. But what they don't realize is that among them there is a traitor. She has no idea that one of the people she's grown to trust is hiding a dark secret that could jeopardize their very existence. This is when things get crazy. They're not just fighting against the hardships of their world, but also unraveling betrayals and hidden agendas within their own group. One of the coolest parts is when they discover an underground bunker, untouched by time, filled with history and treasures from the past. Then all hell breaks loose when they find out the bunker is not abandoned. It's been home to a society that has been living underground for generations, and they're not happy about the intrusion. Okay? My favorite part is when Lila deciphers an old world map that could potentially lead them to a safe haven. But there's a catch. It's located on the other side of what was once America. There's a pretty insane twist toward the end. Something about Lila's past that even she wasn't aware of. I won't say more than that. I don't want to spoil anything, but trust me, it's a must read. So this is just an example using some of the phrases that we looked at. So next time you watch a movie, or next time you read a great book, or you consume a story of any kind in any way, and you want to retell the basics without giving away too much, try to use some of these phrases. If you have any questions about any of these that we talked about, please let me know in the comments. If you haven't done so already, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. And also, feel free to get a free course, Natural English Conversations. That is in the link in the description.